Joseph.
Yes.
Check it out. The Glock 21, 45 caliber. I know you approve of the Glock platform.
Yes.
With the Gemtech Lunar 45
Suppressor.
Suppressor, yes.
Oh, that's a beautiful can.
It is. And
you have a beautiful can, sir.
Thank you, sir. And, well, I'll let you shoot it.
I did. Here's the video.
One.
You know, firing one of these suppressors, I have learned there's a lot of blowback. And there's a lot of, powder that gets kicked back onto your magazines.
Yes.
Internal as of the weapon.
And it gets hot.
It does. Very hot.
Yeah. You can
Good
fry
Lord,
bacon
hot.
on it.
Yeah. So, and I had to switch out the factory barrel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here for what's called an Alpha Wolf.
Lone Wolf Alpha barrel. Yeah. That's in the 45, 5.03 inches, I think.
Yeah, it's a very good barrel too.
Oh, it's a very accurate barrel. I love those. I love this.
So one of the things I learned is how important it is to fire the ammunition you're going to rely on before you have to rely on it.
Especially with a suppressor, you really need to check that out if you have a suppressor.
Right. So, while you were shooting it, there were two different rounds that we had. One was the flat-nosed
Spear Lawman.
Yeah,
230 grain.
Yeah, and then the other was the Winchester.
Yeah, Winchester ball, the white box.
Yeah.
Both of them 230 grain. The Winchester is only 835 feet per second, where the Spear is 830 feet. This is from Midway, USA. They're pretty reliable. So just that 5 feet per second seemed to make a huge difference in the performance. I don't know if it's the flat nose on the bullet or what it didn't like, but it certainly didn't like.
Well, every Spear Lawman round jammed, failed to extract.
Just about
every one of them.
Well, I think there was one or two that fired correctly, but it was an abysmal failure for sure. So, and I see this at the range all the time. When I was at the range for Houston Police Department, people they take out their duty bullets very carefully, polish them up, because they're expensive.
They're expensive,
yeah. And they never ever, how long you had those? Oh, about 15 years now. You're like,
buy new ones.
Yeah, get every 6 months. Every 6 months, you're like, yes.
Your life depends on
Yeah,
this.
exactly. And a lot of times, at the much people's chagrin, I would have them, let's load up a magazine full of these, okay? A whole mag? Yes, and then I would give them some extra of my duty rounds to supplement it, but they would shoot that shoots a lot different. Yeah, everybody else, they tell you, Houston tells you what bullet you will carry in your shotgun, and they tell you what bullet you will carry in the weight and grain of rifle rounds, but
in your AR-15.
In your AR-15, but apparently anything except for Glazer, safety slugs, and something I forget what the forbidden ones are just that you can carry whatever you want, and I never understood that myself.
So one of the other things I did like about this, I'm glad I got the 45, is every round is subsonic.
Yeah, what he means, but if it's a suppressor, if you have a round that's not subsonic, it'll break the sound barrier. It'll make more noise.
Yeah, which defeats the purpose of the suppressor.
That's a very, very quiet weapon.
Oh, it's outstanding.
Now, suppressors are, even if you have a bullet that's not subsonic, still work. They still dampen the sound a lot.
Right.
Okay? Especially if you're trying to shoot them in closed quarters or, they're really good for that.
But what I liked about this was the fact that you can actually change up 45 caliber ammunition, try any kind of factory loaded round, and you don't have to worry about a subsonic round designation. They're just all subsonic, right?
Yeah.
They're all under 1,200 feet per second. If I recall correctly, I think the speed of sound is 1,250 feet per second at sea level.
I think so.
Something like that. And anything underneath that is going to, maybe it's 1,150. Anyhow, anything under 1,000 feet per second is, you're good. And these rounds are coming out at 835 feet per second. So you're good. And a lot of 45 rounds come in between 800 and 950.
Yeah.
So if I'm firing like say a 230 grain hollow point jacketed round with a suppressor, it's still going to perform the same as the full metal jacket. Mm-hmm. But I've learned you got to go to the range, you got to load up some magazines, you got to test that round and make sure that it functions properly.
Because it's really silent with those spear, because you can't even hear their ejection.
Yeah, it does. You get one shot. That's all you get.
And if you notice, several times I was like, then I tap rack and it is just because my trigger pull was smooth, but it would just all of a sudden I'm like, oh man, tap rack. Yeah, sure enough, and it was quiet, very quiet. I was very impressed. Yeah, so which kind of brings me to my next point is utilizing a suppressor now. You'll have departments that are executing arrest warrants, executing search warrants, or whatever kind of warrant you might have. You have several officers, if it's the SWAT team, or if it's a narcotics TAC team, or if it's a kind of a divisional tactical team. Why they don't use suppressors on a regular basis, I don't understand, especially when communication is so important in those kinds of situations. And you've got multiple officers having to tell each other, I'm over here, I'm over there, you're here, in order to avoid crossfire situations we've discussed in other videos. It just seems logical that if you're going to be in a situation where you might have to use deadly force and you don't have hearing protection, you can, have hearing protection on your weapon, right? So as opposed to having to wear headphones or earplugs, you can have a suppressor. Yeah. A couple of things. When you put the suppressor on it, you can see how long it is.
Yeah.
Okay. That is a drawback.
Okay.
And then you put it on a long gun, and now the HPD, Houston Police Department, can carry short barrel rifles, but not everybody's got an SBR. And even if you do put a long can on a SBR, now it's back to the same 16 and a half inch.
Yeah, but it's not blowing out your eardrum.
16 and a half inch musket that that it was before. Well, it's the tactical community, I think, believes that, or most people feel that mobility is more important, because you're not near as mobile with a suppressor because it's so much longer. I think that's what a lot of people believe.
Well, I know, but if you're carrying it on a handgun, it's not that much longer than a short-barreled rifle.
No, but I sure wouldn't want to carry it around.
Well, in
a holster.
I'm not suggesting you have to put it in a holster or carry it on your. You put it in a bag in your trunk.
Yeah. I don't know why in the world
we're going into
you couldn't have it,
an urbanized environment. Let's say an office building, or we're going into, and let's say we're looking for an active shooter in an office building, or we're looking for an active shooter in a school, right? Where communication is exceptionally important because you've got 20, 30 officers.
Yes.
If those officers have suppressors, then it's, you're still going to be able to communicate without blowing out your eardrums while you're trying to engage.
It is a definite advantage.
Yeah.
It's a tactical advantage to have it.
I'm not suggesting that it has to be done all the time. Mm-hmm. Or never, but it's an option.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. I'm sure the cost is another thing that
they're not that expensive.
The officers have to, HPD would have to buy it themselves, and the police department would, if they had them, they would have to, keep track of them. Each one themselves, the police department.
As opposed to the firearm. Like, this isn't more dangerous than the firearm the officer's carrying.
No. I meant the police department, if they issued them, will have to keep track of them.
Right.
And the firearm.
Well, true, but they would just have to ask the federal government to pass a law that.
You know how many, that'd be a range guy, and you can't have him clicking that many times with that mouse, son.
I got an extra job to get to.
I understand. They are very handy. But they are cumbersome. They are cumbersome. And everything now is light is right. You know, that's what they say. And short is a lot better for moving, especially in buildings. Now, I don't always think that's true. The shotgun I have and carried for 30 years on the street is a 20-inch barrel. Okay, because there's shortcomings with a shotgun, and barrel length is one of them. So I was willing to go with a 20-inch barrel. But getting in and out of vehicles with just a 16.5-inch or 16-inch barrel carbine is very difficult, and it gets caught on everything. And then you put a suppressor on it, and it's now like a musket.
Yeah, but if you're executing a search warrant, or
Yes,
if you're executing an arrest warrant, you're already
if you're already out of the vehicle and able to put it on, I don't
formed up.
There's no reason why you couldn't be able to use it.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no reason other than should we use this? I don't know. How about a light on the gun? Oh, should we use that? I don't know. Oh my God, I don't know how to do that. So should anybody else be able to do it? No. You know, should we have a dot on the pistol? I don't know. Should we? Yes. Okay. Should officers be able to use those? Certainly.
It's just I have found in shootings, whether I'm actually watching them or they're on video, noise creates confusion.
Certainly.
A lot of noise creates a lot of confusion. Well, if you can cut down on the noise, I believe you can cut down on the confusion. Okay. So I'm just suggesting that it's not a silver bullet. I mean, it is not going to cure all ills or
no. They're very, very, very handy.
Yeah, it might help the officers who are in the situation of executing a search warrant or an arrest warrant, and you have multiple officers. If you're alone and you're involved in a shooting with a suspect, a suppressor is not going to make a difference because it's just you and the suspect, right? Or if it's just you and another officer, you and your partner, that's not going to make a difference. But if you've got an entire team of people assaulting an objective and you're looking for an active shooter and you are in a confined space, a building, and
you don't want to wake the neighbors.
Well, I'm not suggesting you don't want to wake the neighbors. I'm just suggesting you don't want to.
I was kidding.
You don't want to deafen yourself. You don't want to deafen.
Yeah, you don't want to blow out your eardrums.
Yeah, trying to engage the active shooter. It might enhance an officer's decision matrix to pull the trigger because it's one less thing they're going to have to worry about. Okay, well, if I pull this trigger, I'm going to blow out my eardrums. Do I really need to? Okay, let's take that away as a problem and solve it by saying, okay, officers, use a suppressor. Well,
I will say this is something that I witnessed myself at the range. Had a officer came up with a setup just about like this. It was actually on a Glock. I think it was a 9mm though, and was shooting it on the range. It just brought it up to show it to us. And there was it was on remedial day, and there was a officer there who, in remedial shooting means that they failed their qualification. Okay. Yeah. And she wasn't that good of a shooter, but she shot that gun and was like, oh, wow. And she was just shooting it really fast and very accurately because there was no report that she was jumping every time. I saw that myself. She shot 2 full magazines and was keeping them all in the 10 ring from 7 yards away. And we're like, what happened to you? She goes, well, I'm not scared of it now. And so there is something to be said for that.
Yeah. And
I saw that myself.
I'm just suggesting that, not every police officer is a gun guru.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. That's true. So, hey, something to consider. We read all your comments. So comment below. Tell us what you think. If you're someone with authority in a police department, you might want to consider some options that might help your people. That's all I'm thinking.
Come on.
We try to improve the lives of the law enforcement community, and that's why we're here. So like, subscribe, comment below, and we'll see you in the next video.